Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal are working on 5 big signings this summer with Andrea Bata already on the work and it is underway. Hit the button, subscribe to the channel as well. The story comes in from a very credible source in To Guillaem Ballague, one of the best transfer journalists you can have on the planet right about now. Hit the button, subscribe to the channel as well. In this video, we dive into who are these 5 big signings? What are the positions Arsenal are going to prioritize? And do we really think we have the budget to get 5 big signings? Obviously, there will be a couple of other maneuvers like getting some players on a free, getting some players on loan, and also sales as well. If we could sell well, Kivio maybe, Zinchenko, and a couple of other players, maybe Trossard, I don't know. Arsenal could raise about 60, 80 million and then splash in the window. So let's dive into the article. According to To Guillaem Ballague, one of those transfer journalists that I've been following for quite some time, he says that Arsenal have been tipped to make 5 big signings this summer now that a new director of football, Andrea Bata, is already at the helm and work is underway. So Arsenal are working on 5 big signings. Let's look at the positions and let's look at the names. Now, according to a few sources that I've looked at, I also want to add another defender. And I'm not saying that this is bad. I'm just saying that we have signed so many defenders. I wouldn't want to spare one of my big signings to be a defender. But it's more likely Arsenal will have a centre back or a left back coming this summer. 2 names have been talked about quite heavily in recent memory, and that is Milos Kekes at Bournemouth. He's a left back, purely a left back. So that tells you everything you need to know about Arsenal going for a defender. They want someone who can come in and play left back. But also Jorah Hato at Ajax. We've been linked with Jorah Hato for quite some time, and if he came in, I wouldn't actually be surprised. Now, these two are very realistic as compared to McGahey at Crystal Palace. McGahey's contract is quite still on, and Palace are asking for 70 million, 80 million, 90 million. I remember Tottenham went in for around with around 70 million, I think, and they turned it down. They want a lot of money. I don't see Arsenal go in this summer and then get a defender for quite that much. I would be very surprised. I would be very, very not really disappointed, but amused by the sheer interest in defense, building by Mikel Arteta. We've spent a lot of money on the defense in recent years. I don't expect Arsenal to focus their resources there. So when it comes to Jorah Hato and Milos Kekes, these are big signings. Why? First and foremost, none of them is going to cost less than 40 million. Jorah Hato, in my opinion, is going to be between 45 to 65 million. That's a really big signing. And Milos Kekes, 40 to 45 million. That's a big signing. And when I think about both of them, I think Jorah Hato, if he comes into Arsenal, he might actually start ahead of Lewis Kelly. If Milos Kekes comes in, he definitely starts ahead of Lewis Kelly. Remember, Lewis Kelly is a midfielder turned left back. Kekes is a real left back. So I think part of the budget, if we have like 300 million or 200 million or 250, and Mikel wants another defender, part of the budget is going to fall into the defense. So I'm tipping one defender to come in as one of the big signings. And then I think, I don't know whether the backup goalkeeper is part of the 5 big signings, because again, it's gonna cost Arsenal a lot of money. We are talking upwards of 10 million for a backup goalkeeper. That's kind of huge, honestly. I mean, if you remember what Arsenal have been doing with backup goalkeepers, we've been signing players for 1 million, 8 million, 7 million. And then you have Joan Garcia, who Mikel Arteta loves. He's been scouted by the Arsenal network for quite some time. He's going to be a big signing because he's one of those players that Arsenal followed for quite some time, and Mikel Arteta believes he's going to create a huge impact. Actually, I was seeing one of the interviews by one of the very, very good guys analyzing La Liga, and he was saying that Mikel Arteta really prioritizes the psychological element of the game, and he thinks that if he brings in a goalkeeper as good as Joan Garcia, he's going to push David Raya to the limits. So I kind of feel like, again, John Garcia might not be part of the 5 big signings, but the way Mikel Arteta loves him and the way he's pushing for that move, I won't be surprised if John Garcia, as a backup goalkeeper, is part of our 5 big signings. So 2 already have gone in goal and in defense. And I also think that it's unfair that we are adding another defender. But the injuries and a lot of players want game time. Kivio, Zinchenko, Kerenteni, they're all leaving. They want to go somewhere where they can play. It just makes sense. Moving into the midfield, this is where I'm going to predict 2 signings. All right, I'm gonna predict 2 signings in midfield. The first one is obviously Martin Zubimendi. We know ever since Mikel Arteta was introduced in our Arsenal, he's been eyeing Martin Zubimendi. And finally, he's getting his boy, he's getting his man. This summer, we expect him to sign for 50.2 million. A deal already agreed. Personal terms not a problem. We're just waiting for that summer in June, and then everything can be settled out. Zubimendi is a big signing. Actually, Zubimendi is a gargantuan signing. I mean, if you consider the context in which he's coming in our Arsenal, he's a gargantuan signing. First and foremost, on his shoulders is the burden to replace the almost ever reliable Thomas Partey. Partey is almost ever reliable if you can have him fit. And the problems that he has suffered for the last 3 seasons at the Arsenal is that he hasn't been fit. But if you're coming in to replace Partey, there are 3 things that you're going to have to shoulder. 1, you're going to have to be the defensive midfielder that is Thomas Partey, as good as that. You're going to have to be very good in transition and ball progression. And thirdly, you're going to have to be Mr. Reliable. Partey is loved by the Arsenal fan base. And part of the reasons why we love him is because we take him to be reliable, a midfield magnificent. So Zubimendi coming in at a time where Partey is leaving and Jorginho is leaving, it's a big signing. And of course, Arsenal have done very well to kind of tone it down. He's a £50 million signing. This guy is half of the price of Declan Rice. You can't believe that. In reality, if Declan Rice is 100 million, Martin Zubimendi is 75 to 85 million. Like, in real honesty. I know many of you are going to say, Kasi, come on. That's the truth. Zubimendi is that good. So, for me, in midfield, he's going to be the first big signing. The second big signing in midfield is not going to be Bruno Guimaraes. We have been linked with Bruno Guimaraes, but for me, I think the Bruno Guimaraes story was around because there was talk that Madrid was going to intercept the Martin Zubimendi deal. And ever since Arsenal, we got clearance on the Martin Zubimendi deal, Madrid rumors died down. The Bruno Guimaraes stories have also died down. Now, there is more talk about Andre Bata being a big fan. He likes him, would love to bring him to the Emirates Stadium, and so on and so forth. But with Declan Rice there, Martin Zubimendi there, do Arsenal need another defensive midfielder? Probably not. Now, of course, Mikel might say, I want Bruno Guimaraes to come in as the box-to-box, and then I can commit Declan Rice to defensive midfield. But I think that would be a bad transfer strategy. So I think our next big signing in midfield is going to come as an attacking outlet. And I'm going to give you 2 options here. 1, Alex Moleiro, and 2, Xavi Simons. Honestly, I think we'll talk about Sane as part of the attack, right? Because Sane can definitely come in as an attacking midfielder. But let's start off with Xavi Simons. Why Xavi Simons is going to be a big signing for Arsenal? He's a profile we do not have. You see, with Alex Moleiro, you can get his bits and pieces from Fabio Vieira and Martin Odegaard. Vieira loves shooting from outside the penalty area. That is Moleiro. And Vieira's got this element of, I want to take the game in my own hands and change it. I want to do something in this game and impact it. That is Alex Moleiro. And then the creativity, obviously, Odegaard has it and Fabio Vieira has it. But when it comes to Xavi Simons, Arsenal don't have that profile. We completely don't have that. We are blank. When you look at our Arsenal, it's blank of ammunition like Phil Foden and Xavi Simons. We don't have such players that are so talented, technically gifted in the final third, but so talented and they just don't care. That is what we're lacking. All the players we have, they're so good on the ball, technically gifted, of course, Odegaard and the others, but they care a lot about position. And let's play it safe. Let's try to make sure that we don't lose the ball. So Xavi Simons, as a creator, is a player that Arsenal don't have in their arsenal. He's this kind of profile that we are hungry for and we are, dying to get. And for him to cost around 60 to 65 million euros, that's around 50 million pounds. Again, for me, it's a fair deal. I mean, let me know what you think about it in the comment box below. But I kind of feel like Xavi Simons makes more sense than Leroy Sané. Xavi Simons makes more sense than Sivia Naipan. And he's more expensive than all these other options, but for me, he makes more sense. He comes into this Arsenal team and he occupies a role that needs to be occupied, but no one is doing it very well. Now, if I remember very well, that role was assigned to Kai Havertz. Mikel Arteta went out in the window and said, Kai Havertz, my boy, come here. You're going to be playing for me as the creative midfielder. Your role is to arrive in the penalty area, feed the striker, and just be creative and just focus on scoring goals. And I think Kai has done that, but in the wrong place. If Gyökeres comes in, or if Šeško comes in, or Isak comes in, then Havertz is out of position. So I would say Xavi Simons definitely should be among the 5 big signings we are looking at. If we can't afford him, let's go for Alex Moleiro. Now, with Moleiro, there are 2 things here. One, he's still very young, 21, attacking midfielder at Las Palmas. He can come in as a squad player, just a squad player. He comes in. When you want to take off Odegaard, that's okay. And of course, it means that Fabio Vieira has failed at Arsenal, and we're going to see him leave. Alternatively, Moleiro could come in as this, the way we signed Sami Nasri. You remember that summer when Arsenal signed Sami Nasri? He's this lack of experience, midfielder who had just signed from Marseille. I think it was like 1 million, 4 million, or 3. I don't remember the price. And then he comes in, and that season he hits the ground running. So he could be our Sami Nasri. He could be the new Sami Nasri. He comes in, and all of a sudden, boom, bang, he hits the ground running. He's creating chances. He's, shooting outside the penalty area. He's doing all the nice stuff. And, Arsenal are back to firing again. Obviously, among the 5 signings, we should have at least 3 forward players. And for me, these are the contenders in attack. One is Nico Williams. Talks have been held with the agent. We know that. The project has been sold to the player and he's open to moving to the EPL. Arsenal are now believing that the player is more optimistic and very positive about joining us as a project. Nico is going to be a big one. First and foremost, Arsenal will have to spend big money in terms of wages, but also in terms of the transfer fee. I mean, if he's going to cost 45 million, but a big chunk of that has to be paid up front, you know what it means. It's big money. He's a big signing. And obviously, he comes in as a superstar in the making, like a player that clubs feel he's going to be a superstar. Kind of like the Mario Balotelli effect when he came to Manchester City. You remember, right? That kind of guy. Arsenal have signed this profile before over the years, especially under Arsene Wenger. A player that we hope comes in and becomes a superstar. I think we tried to do that with like I said, Sami Nasri, it worked out. Adebayo, it worked out. Van Persie, it worked out. Theo Walcott, it worked out. We have had a lot of success with players like Nico Williams. He comes in at 45. Even Thierry Daniel Henry didn't sign for big money. And then he became one of the world-class strikers that the world has ever seen. The best in class. And so I think Arsenal are looking at Nico Williams in that class. He's a big signing, but he's not yet in that 100 million mark. Arsenal want to make him a 100 million pound player. The next one is going to be a free agent, and that's Sané. I think if Sané comes in, he will do a good job as well. Very, very good job. He's experienced, he's got the best skill, he's worked with Mikel Arteta, makes a lot of sense. At striker, I think it's between Šeško and Gyökeres. I've seen a few people, by the way, on Twitter, let me tell you this. I've seen a few people on Twitter say, if it's between Šeško and Gyökeres, they're going for Šeško. And I'm like, what? But their reasons are very clear. They're saying Šeško is younger, he's got a higher ceiling, and does he have a higher ceiling than Gyökeres? I don't think so. I think Gyökeres, at 27, he can do things that Šeško will never do, honestly. I don't think he's got a higher ceiling. I think people just want to bask into this safety net of, you know, he's got a lot of time to prove his worth, right? But for me, I think it's going to be Viktor Gyökeres. I think positive talks have been held, just like with Šeško. I think Andre Bata likes him. I think Arteta can fall for the player and the idea of Gyökeres. So if I'm to wrap up my 5 big signings, I think it will be Gyökeres, Nico Williams, Sané, Zubimendi, and Jean Garcia, right? I mean, David Onstein has said that Arsenal could look at even 2 goalkeepers if Tommy Setford goes out on loan and Neto goes back to Bournemouth. So if we are bringing in 2 goalkeepers and we are signing like one defender, those are 3, 2 midfielders, 5, maybe 2 attackers, we might have 7 signings coming in, like 7 signings altogether coming in. It might be a crazy, crazy summer. But let me know what you think about it.